as much as traditional gamers hate the idea of smartphone gaming, we can't deny the facts. In fact, in a couple of years' time, the time spent playing mobile games is set to overtake that playing console games. So in this video we're going to take a look at the top 7 smartphones for gaming in 2017. Number 1 is the iPhone X, and with the brand new A11 Bionic chip inside of it, it is about 40% faster than the iPhone 7, which is even today still one of the fastest phones for gaming. On top of that, we've got a brand new 5.8-inch Super Retina HD display, which is not only by far the highest resolution display ever seen on an iPhone, but it also supports the brand new True Tone color standard. Now, one other thing to bear in mind is that iPhone displays support 3D touch, which hasn't been a revolutionary feature, but can still be pretty fun. Say for example, you're playing a racing game, on a standard Android device, you'll be able to control left and right. With an iPhone with 3D touch, you can not only do left and right, but also control the strength of your turns by exerting different amounts of pressure. Also, Apple has actually built the iPhone X from the ground up to work with augmented reality. The sensors on the cameras on the rear have been calibrated much more effectively, which supposedly allows for more immersive experience, but only time will tell on that one. Number 2, we have the OnePlus 5. And I'd say for a good majority of the people who want to use an Android phone and who want to game, this is the phone for you. It ticks every single box. Not only is it $450, so about 2/3 of the price of most flagship Android phones, but it's got everything. We've got a 5.5-inch AMOLED display with a resolution of 1920 by 1080, which makes a lot of sense for gaming for 2 reasons. Not only is it less than Quad HD, which means there are less pixels to push and your frame rates can be higher, and also there can be more things going on screen without the phone slowing down. But also, a 1920 by 1080p resolution implies that you have a 16:9 ratio, which in the current state of Android gaming, where 18:9 isn't really supported very well, makes a lot more sense. If you play the same games on your S8 or your Note 8, which have those stretched screen dimensions, all you get is these ugly black bars on the side. But also, there's the simple fact that even months after its launch, the OnePlus 5 is pretty much the fastest Android phone on the planet. We've got the Snapdragon 835, and on the top tier model, 8GB of RAM. Number 3 is the Zook Z2 Pro, a phone which pretty much blitzes everything at the $300 price point. We've got the Snapdragon 820, which yes is a chip from last year, but at the same time don't forget, it's a chip last year from phones costing twice as much. It supports that with up to 6GB of RAM, and it also has an AMOLED panel, so it ticks a lot of boxes for not a lot of money. Then we have the Sony XZ Premium, and whilst all in all it wasn't the best received smartphone, in terms of gaming it does have a few things that differentiate it from its competitors. For instance, that 4K HDR 5.5-inch display. First of all, that resolution is absolutely crazy, and whilst holding it in your hand, especially with the size of 5.5 inches, you might not be able to tell the difference. In terms of virtual reality, when that screen is blown up to a much larger size, you definitely will. Also, the HDR aspect means you get much deeper blacks, much brighter whites, and therefore just an overall more impressive image. Also with the Sony, because it's a Sony phone, you get PlayStation Remote Play. So if you have a PlayStation 4, then natively on the phone, you can stream games from it to the device. Now, quite possibly the one you are least likely to have heard of on the list, the Lenovo P2, and at just $200, it has got some crazy specifications. We've got 3GB of RAM, the Snapdragon 625, which is an upper mid-range chipset, and still an AMOLED display. And there's more, because it also has a 5100 mAh battery, which is enough to power it through a good 2 days of heavy usage. Now, the camera has been compromised on the phone, but from a pure gaming perspective, for the purposes of this video, it's a great investment. By the company Xiaomi, we then have the Mi 6, which actually draws a lot of parallels to the OnePlus 5. Both have the Snapdragon 835, whilst the Mi 6 has 6GB of RAM, the upper end OnePlus 5 has 8. Having said that, in terms of gaming, that basically makes no difference, which means that the Mi 6 at $400 is essentially the fastest gaming phone for this price. Bear in mind that there are some trade-offs. You do get a smaller 5.15-inch display as opposed to a 5.5-inch display, and also you have to deal with MIUI as opposed to Oxygen OS, and MIUI, let's just say, is nowhere near as snappy. And of course, we can't forget the iPhone 8 Plus, which has the same A11 Bionic chip as seen in the iPhone X, but is quite a lot cheaper. Having said that, the main trade-off comes in the form of the display. On the iPhone 8 Plus, we actually get a smaller display than the X in a much larger, clunkier, more archaic looking body. But if you can put up with that, and the fact that it's a much lower resolution, then to be honest that seems like the better option in terms of value for money. Anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget there are loads of phones like the S8, like the G6, like the V30, which might be better phones all in all, but from a pure gaming perspective, the ones on this list are definitely going to do the job. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Mr.